Hey, I'm Dana Warwick, and my article is the effects of hip flexor training on sprint, shuttle run, and vertical jump performance. It's an article by Russell Deanne, John Chow, Mark Tillman, and Kim Forner. It's from the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research, and it was published in August of 2005. The purpose of this study was to determine whether a hip flexor resistance training program could improve the performance in a 40-yard dash, the shuttle run, and a vertical jump. This group, their hypothesis was that for sure an increase in hip flexor strength as a result of resistance training would increase all of those tests. This study used repeat measures designed to determine the influence of hip flexor strength training on several performance variables. There was 24 individuals that were trained for 8 weeks using resistance bands and elastic tubing to strengthen their hip flexors. They were evaluated at the beginning and at the end of the 8 weeks. And then there was also a control group that just had 24 people, and they received no training at all. And they were also evaluated at the beginning and the end of the 8-week period. Athletes of different sports use resistance training to improve their muscular strength. However, among the exercises that are commonly performed by athletes, hip flexion is one of the most ignored exercises in strength and conditioning. Hip flexion exercises are often neglected in strength training programs for popular sports such as football, basketball, and soccer. So that's not really that good because the hip flexors are also important. They should also be strengthened and worked and improved. Although the quadriceps, hamstrings, and calf muscles are mainly responsible for propelling the body forward during running or jumping exercises, the hip flexors may also contribute to these actions, so they should be strengthened. Maximizing the strength of the hip flexors is likely to be beneficial to athletes who do a lot of running and jumping in their sports. This study aimed to determine whether the hip flexor resistance training program could improve performance. And indeed, the studies did show a positive correlation between strong hip flexors and improved performance. There was improvements were observed in the training group, but not in the control group. So the control group, there was not that great of a improvement. There was little to none at all. But in the group that had the 8 weeks of training and the strength of the hip flexors, they could see a slight difference. Individuals in the training group improved hip flexion strength by 12.2% and decreased their 40-yard time by 3.8%. And also the shuttle run times also decreased by 9%. An increase in hip flexion strength can help to improve sprint and agility performance for physically active, untrained individuals. That was the conclusion that they came to, and I believe that hip flexion strength really will help improve the performance of athletes who have to run and jump and things to that nature. So to prepare for your 40-yard in the upcoming weeks, prepare your hips. See you soon.